Tag along as Histories and Mysteries visits the little town of Moreland, Georgia, the home place of two famous Georgia authors, Erskine Caldwell and Louis Grizzard. Let's compare and contrast these two authors and discover a wonderful small town museum. We've been in Moreland before, but now we've got some access into this cool museum. This is Mr. Winston Skinner.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
And Mr. Tom.
Jimmy Haynes.
Jimmy Haynes. And they're going to tour us through the museum. So come on, guys, let's go.
Okay.
It's not just about, I know where everybody's talking about Louis Grizzard.
Right. It is a tribute to Louis and to the fact that this was his hometown and he wrote about it. And essentially what we've done is we have, in miniature, recreated the Moreland that Louis knew.
I see. Interesting.
There's the railroad with trunks and lanterns and all of that. There is a store. There is, let's see, we have
a miniature railroad.
The bank,
I love that.
Yes, we have the bank. There was a bank here. We have a pulpit, a historic pulpit from one of the area churches, so that's sort of a tribute to the fact that church was a center of life.
Yes.
And then, of course, this building was a textile mill.
This one was?
This building, yes. Okay. This whole complex. This was built originally as a store, but for most of its life, it was part of a textile mill.
Textile mill, mostly cotton.
Yeah. They made cotton hose here for years.
Stockings and stuff.
Stockings.
Right. Similar to the Noonan area.
That's right. That was big in this area.
Right. But cotton was king. That's for sure.
Yes. And most of us around here have some connection to the mill. Like Jimmy's dad worked here for a while, and my mother worked here as a student, and then her aunt was the bookkeeper here.
So everybody's got a connection.
And her aunt's on the other side.
6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, made and we do have.
Thank you.
We do have things from.
So this is like the little church mock-up.
Right.
So you're highlighting what you would consider all the important historical.
Right, and it does sort of reflect. Look what Louis wrote about.
Right.
He wrote about going to church. He wrote about the
church, gardening.
Right, exactly.
Don't bend over in the garden, Granny.
That's right.
You know them taters got eyes.
And we got this is about the mill itself. This is a machine that made socks.
Yeah. They were electrically operated, but we got hand crank model.
That's so cool.
All those gears were turning 8 needles at the same time.
Now, when this was a cotton mill, was this after the time where children would have worked here, or were there, when it opened, were there still, is that before the child labor laws? Because the mills were sort of notorious for those little hands getting into the gears.
Yeah, it opened before then, but by the time I know anything about it, like when my grandmother worked here in the, you think she would have been here? That would have been in the early 30s.
The 30s.
I've never heard anybody talk about.
No, I think it was prior. I think it was around the 1920s. Is what I've read that child labor laws, and they would get the kids out of there.
Right, but it was my grandmother thought it was wonderful because this was a place that you worked and you actually got cash money at the end of the week
instead of having to go through the company store.
Well, you could do that somewhat, although Moreland was not a mill town.
Right.
There wasn't a village. People came and either lived close by or boarded. Like my grandmother and her sister boarded with a lady here in Moreland.
Because we're at the Sergeant Arnco area, that's a little older, and they built the little, the little shotgun houses and the mill houses and
you have the
stuff.
same thing in Grantville. Grantville has its own mill village, but here there was no mill village.
Okay.
And the thing about the cash money was most of these people had a farm, and so farming was questionable. You could work all year and you might make something and you might not.
It was hit or miss.
But if you worked at the mill, then at the end of every week there was a pay envelope.
You could at least get some coffee and pay whatever necessities.
Pay some things,
Right. Actual cash.
Right.
Well, we know from coal miners and mill workers right after the Civil War up until the 20s.
Right.
They were having to go through the company store. It was a way to hook you, and
Right.
and you were trapped. You
Yes.
were trapped. It was really a form of indentured servitude, basically.
In many places, yes.
Right.
Now, one of the things about the mill that we need to say, since we're thinking somewhat about Lewis's uncle, Grover Norman, he and someone else patented a piece that was used in one of these machines.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And they bought their home with the money that he got.
Neat.
For the patent, and it's still here. Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah. So.
Sometimes we'll find little tidbits of knowledge, and we sent our kids to college on this particular thing that happened.
Sure.
And that was it was a little bonus, and
yeah. Well, it definitely was.
Interesting.
You're exactly right about life, because between here and Luthersville, there's a house that I heard about that the family bought. They had a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Had a good year, and they bought
Right.
the property they were farming. And otherwise it would have been out of their reach.
Of course.
But anyway, there's the mill, and we have a great.
And I love these windows up here.
Aren't they wonderful?
The architecture is
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
amazing. That's something we just love.
Yeah. And here, this is a picture that was taken by someone with the Atlanta newspapers back in the 30s or 40s.
Right.
And it's people, I think it's the shift change at the mill. That's my take on it.
Now, are these wooden structures still here, or
Yeah, they're all here, aren't they, Jimmy?
when we go out?
Those three buildings,
see
they're
those?
still
Okay.
here. Yes,
They're
yeah,
still
they're outside. Yes, yes.
All right, we'll check those.
Yeah, you definitely
Neat.
want to check those out.
That picture was taken from up there.
Correct,
from
correct.
this
From up there,
direction
kind of
down.
like where the Methodist church is now.
And you can see we were electrified by then,
Right. That's right.
which was new.
Right.
Georgia didn't automatically get electricity. I know in Norcross on the north side, it was 1910 before they got any electricity.
Yeah.
So interesting. And Earskin Caldwell, that's what we're going to talk about too.
Right. This is a traveling exhibit. These same panels you'll see when we get to the Caldwell Museum.
Earskin Caldwell.
But
I understand he was bit controversial.
He
as
was
well.
a bit controversial.
I read a little bit about that.
Yeah.
He was honest about what he saw in the South, and some people did not take that well.
Right.
But it was God's Little Acre. Was his most popular or
Let me
most
get that
successful?
straight. Yeah, I think God's Little Acre is the one that sold the
most
most.
popular
Let's see,
one.
1 million copies in the first 6 months, another million in the next 6. And
I also heard one of his books was banned.
oh yeah, that was immensely helpful. Having the book banned made it just everyone.
Because everybody,
everyone wanted to read that.
Yeah, they always say bad press is better than no press.
Yes. And I believe I think it was God's Little Acre that was banned by the.
Oh,
It
interesting.
was either that or Tobacco Road. Because those
Tobacco Road, that's the other one I heard
Those were the
of.
two.
Right.
Tobacco Road came out
Right.
first, and then God's Little Acre second. Yes.
William
anyway.
Faulkner listed him as one of the 5 greatest American novelists of his generation.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That's an interesting tidbit.
Yes.
55 books in his lifetime. And what we usually do with these videos is we'll come out, we'll talk to everybody, and then we go back and add in some more research that we find, and try to, we try to get it as close to what we can, nobody knows all the stories, of course.
Sure.
But we just try to bring everybody whatever we can, and then we encourage people to make comments. So if you're from Moreland, or we're still in Coweta County.
Right.
We've talked about that Coweta County line several times in our stuff.
Right.
But we'll see what other things we can find and add in.
Sure.
What's around the corner here? This is the display for
Yeah, that's still
Earskin.
part of the traveling exhibit.
I gotcha.
We have that. We can loan it out if someone wants it for a.
Oh, right.
Exhibit at a library or museum. We
Right.
could
Right.
send that and send some stuff
That's
with it.
near. And there's Mr. Grizzard.
Right. When we get over
And
here,
his dog.
This is Lewis's house.
I don't blame you.
So when you come over here, we have-
He's definitely the pride of Moreland, correct?
Absolutely. We have.
Oh, that's neat.
We've sort of recreated the house in a sense, and then there are all sorts of
Those glasses, that was a...
memorabilia and pictures.
We just hit the Noonan Museum not too long ago, and of
Okay.
course they've got caricatures of him.
Oh yeah.
And okay, what's that, Mr. Winston?
I don't know. Do you know what that is, Jimmy?
We tell everybody it's a snapper lawnmower because it's
Is it a mower blade?
Snapper
Okay.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, that's an old mower.
Yeah. We have several old pieces of equipment.
Some neat.
Lots of pictures here. The man on the far right is Lewis's dad. He was a coach at times. And then the pictures of Lewis with various teams, and then pictures of Lewis from his childhood. Because he came here and.
Boy, we see a lot of cowboy pictures. That was really a big thing.
Oh, yes.
And then, you know, there was a traveling photographer that would come around sometimes with a
Black
pony.
and white pony.
With a pony.
Oh.
And we've heard that in many little towns. And, and that
really?
was like their little jam. They'd come around with a pony. And one old woman years and years ago, she would have been 120, but now she was still alive. And she said the photographer came, but she didn't have any clean white little socks, the bobby socks.
Oh, yeah.
And her mother walked up to town and bought her new socks before she had her picture made.
Right.
Because, you know, we got to have clean socks for the picture. And this is from the University of Georgia.
Yeah, that's right. That's his fraternity, UGA.
Oh, okay. 1965. There's a very nice picture of him looking pretty good.
And
And
you
what
come
is
back
that?
cowboy. This is his little rocking chair with has a cowboy on it, and then the horse.
That's funny. That reminds me of a donkey I won once at a raffle when I was a kid. And they carried it up to our house riding on the roof of an old Volkswagen Beetle. That's cool. Now, where have you accumulated this stuff from?
Well,
curiously,
there are several. There are many different sources, but the main ones are there was a group that started a museum in honor of Lewis.
This is the original Lewis Grizzard Museum.
After his death, that included a lot of his friends, like from Union High School, and so they had stuff and gave stuff.
People had stuff,
and got
right.
people.
I
and
gotcha.
then we've had a great connection with some of Lewis's first cousins who gave us pictures that their grandmother had, and then Lewis's widow, Deidre, has given us lots of things, and then Lewis's first wife, Nancy, has also given us lots of things. So,
all right.
So they've been very generous.
Now, this house, does this still exist?
Yes, that's the house where Lewis's mother, Christine, and her second husband, H.B. Atkinson, lived. It is still there. It is still privately owned. Matter of fact, it's on a private drive, basically. And as I understand it, this little house in the yard was where Lewis basically lived.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
HB sold prefab houses, Jim Walter style houses.
Oh, did he?
And when the office closed, that was the sales office. So he moved it down so that Lewis, even though he's too big to have a playhouse, he would have a room to himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's neat.
Yeah, he was very good to Lewis, and Lewis was very positive about HB. I think.
So that's good.
Yeah. I think there was always a line there that, you know, we knew that Lewis had another dad and where he was, and he was the one that really mattered, but HB was the one that was really there. So.
Don't sit under the grapes tree with anyone else but me.
And
there's their Don't Bend Over, Granny. That's the book. I actually have a paperback copy of that at home. My mom was a big fan. My dad was a big fan. I like that one. Elvis is dead and I don't feel so good myself. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then this is one that has Lewis on top, Erskine on the bottom. This is Lewis.
Oh, I see.
Gucci shoes, his statue on the typewriter,
A set of glasses.
sunglasses, and then a little informational page, and then the same for Erskine. Tobacco Road and a dictionary. He was not a good speller and used dictionaries a lot.
Didn't have autocorrect.
That's right.
Spell check.
That's right.
Like we do
That's
now.
the first of the 4 wedding rings. A watch.
Married 4 times.
Yes,
huh?
but both Lewis and Erskine were married 4 times.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah. And
now, didn't Lewis Grizzard marry his last wife while he was hospitalized?
he did.
But he wanted her to have the estate. That's why he did it.
He certainly
I remember
did. He certainly did. Absolutely.
That he wanted to make sure that she didn't have any issues.
Yep.
Because he is in perpetuity, I'm sure, still drawing an income.
Well, she talked to me about that she didn't, they had talked several different times about getting married, and she did not want to get married in the hospital. She said, no, I want to wait until you're well and all that. And he said, we are getting married tomorrow.
Yeah. And how long after the wedding?
Like 4 days.
I was thinking it was less than a week is what I remember.
Just a very few days.
I remember that from the news.
Right,
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
We were, what year did he pass?
Oh boy.
Oh gosh, I'm putting you on the spot.
Let's see, I may have that.
Uh-oh, let's see.
No, of course not. It's not there.
We'll look it up.
We'll find it.
1993 or 4.
Yeah.
In the 90s. I was thinking we lived in Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta in 79. So yeah, I remember, more like local news when in the evening at 6 o'clock we all sat down and actually listened to the news.
Right.
Nobody does that anymore.
No.
And then, so what's this setup back here about?
All right.
We're going to go this way.
Let's go back there.
Follow the leader.
All right, we've got sports stuff here. Golf, clubs, bags, shoes.
Big golfer.
Oh yes.
Love golf. I didn't know that about him.
Oh yeah. So you got there's
from
Ansley Park.
Right.
And,
right.
That's somewhere else that I can't read right a minute. Atlanta National. Okay. And then we got Georgia Bulldog.
Georgia Bulldog. That was a theme this weekend. Our friend was a big fan.
And then this is stuff from Noonan High.
Noonan High.
Yeah. He liked to play tennis. Well, of course, we also have a Georgia Bulldog.
Gosh, we had one of those old rackets just like that.
And this megaphone for the Noonan High Tigers was Louise Beaver, she was, and cheese the redheaded cheerleader in his books.
Oh, okay.
He refers to her as the redheaded cheerleader.
The redheaded cheerleader.
She gave us that. So
interesting. And I like the way you set this up. This was just how in a country club in the clubhouse. Yep. This is just how it would have been.
You got it.
And it's got the Augusta towel, it looks like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. See, I noticed that.
Yeah,
and then, of course, all of these bag tags would be from different clubs. Probably the old Atlanta Athletic Club. I wouldn't doubt he played there.
I'm sure he did.
Which is now the Standard Club.
Right.
He probably played Augusta.
Yeah.
He probably had friends in high places.
Probably
and
did.
here he is with someone doing some golf stuff there.
Pull that out.
See who that is.
The Crosby Bermuda Run. Oh, I'm supposed to know who that is.
He's supposed to
I think
know.
he's a journalism person.
Okay.
Yeah.
But here he is with Arnie. Arnold Palmer. Now,
Yeah.
now I can say I've met him.
Yep.
That's one I've met.
And let's see, this is...
Did you see the golf bag, Mark? Look at the Georgia golf bag.
This is an interesting
Was
piece.
Tab his favorite drink of
Presented
choice?
to Lewis by...
The Atlanta Bottling Company.
Tribute to Tab drinkers everywhere. Pepsi's not the same. Hard to find in Europe, you know.
That's cute.
Yep. And
Sports
Writer of the Year, 1977. Yeah, lots of awards here. This is
I believe I've seen this somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, we have several of them.
Now, the caricatures and the drawings, would that be the same artist that went on to draw for Jeff Foxworthy?
Well, there are some. Now, of course, several
Because I know he's a Noonanite.
Right, several people did caricatures, but David Boyd certainly did some.
David Boyd,
And
that's the one from Noonan.
He was a friend of Lewis's,
and he was
did
all
indeed.
the Foxworthy
he was the
stuff.
redneck artist for Foxworthy.
Yeah.
Yes, and he did.
And here's Erskine.
Yeah. Most of this is Erskine.
God's Little Green Acre.
Yeah, there's some.
It just makes you want to go back and read some of the classics.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
like
this
to go back and do that.
pool table is one that Lewis played on. It was in a
neat.
service station. Is that right, Jimmy?
Yeah. Down on the highway there.
Yeah. And after school, he and friends would go play pool.
Play pool.
Yeah.
And I find this kind of neat. Would this been for the boiler?
That would be my guess.
Probably, yes.
Because it's got a gauge.
Yeah, with the gauge. That's neat. I'm checking out the old ceiling and stuff. We were in the fall. We went down to Plains, Georgia. And that was a great place, and we ended up staying in a hotel that we found out was a furniture store and a funeral home.
Oh, yeah.
And right outside our room was the elevator that they brought the caskets and the corpses up and down, and we were sleeping right there. We're like, okay, well, there you go. And there's Mr. Caldwell.
Yeah.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, a man from Alabama called us and said he had some Caldwell stuff he wanted to give us. And this is all of it here. Plus that box down there at your feet too. So.
Oh boy. Well, you know, if somebody has it, better grab it while you can.
Yeah. A lot of Erskine's books are out of print.
Out of print.
But
that's kind of a shame, isn't it?
He had a tendency to use different publishers. He wasn't happy with the deal he's getting. He'd choose somebody else for the next one, and that worked well in the immediate moment. But the problem with that is that your current publisher has no interest in your old books. They don't care anything about helping you sell that old book. Because somebody else is making that money.
Right.
And so a lot of them, I remember when we were first really getting the museum started, they were trying to let a lot of the copyrights lapse so they could kind of market it. And Virginia, his widow, really hoped to sell everything to somebody, and that didn't work. They were able to sell, I think there are 11 titles that they sold to the University of Georgia Press, and those you can get. They're these. You can see the short stories there. They look like this.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And some of these other things I know about too, because they're like this one. This is one of the biographies. This guy's been here, Wayne Nixon. He was a professor in Augusta for a long time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Sylvia Jenkins Cook. She came here for a panel discussion. She's a scholar, Caldwell scholar. And Chip Arnold, Chip Arnold did conversations with Earskin Caldwell. He was actually from Chip was from Hogansville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So in the area.
Yeah. But he was called at Appalachian State.
Right.
And his last book, which he wrote right before he became very ill, was about the Sam Hose lynching. So.
And I don't know that story.
Oh, you don't know that story? Okay. Well, in I think it's in 1899, 1898 or 18. I think for sure it's 1899. Sam Hose was a contract laborer from the prison system.
Oh, I should have grabbed that video. That's all right. Maybe another one will come
No, it's fine.
over here.
Yeah, very likely. No public gathering happens in Moreland without the train coming.
Well,
wedding,
three
funeral,
trains went by for the memorial service Saturday. We were in Norcross.
Yeah. Wedding, funeral, church service.
That's right. There's got to be a whistle blowing in the background. I get that. We used to laugh at people that would move to Norcross, and they build these big houses. That we don't want the trains to blow. What? Okay, you want the trains to just crash people? That's fine.
Yeah. I don't
like
think
you didn't see that track when you bought the house.
Yeah. Like it's been here a while. Guess what? They have right of way.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. Okay, so.
But the Sam Hose lynching was a huge international story.
Oh, really?
And there have been many things told about it that were true, and many things told about it that were not true.
As with any history.
Yeah. And this was one. There's just a whole.
Yeah, was he African American?
He was African American. Yes, and he was the convict lease system was pretty brutal in lots of ways, and I don't know anything about how he was treated, but he killed Alfred Cranford, who was the man he was working for.
Oh.
And it was.
And that was Coweta County?
Oh, yeah.
The sheer gruesomeness of the lynching and burning drew attention worldwide. Investigator from Chicago drew the conclusion that Sam Hose likely acted in self-defense.
And then the rest of this is just sort of some memorabilia. We've got books by Lewis.
My daddy was a pistol and I'm a son of a gun.
Yeah, that's a very good. The books he wrote about his, to me, the books he wrote about his mother and his father are
most touching or
deeper.
Deep. Yeah.
I mean, Lewis was a great writer, and he could write things that were funny, and he could write things that were thoughtful and things that
Yeah.
made you think. But I think his mother and his father were such a part of who he was. His mother, him being an only child, that's another thing about Caldwell and Grizzard. They both were only children, and they both were very much petted by their mothers. I think Miss Christine, she was the one who had the day-to-day rearing of Lewis to do. She had to make him behave. She had to make sure he was doing his schoolwork and all that. Now this is a cool book. All right, this book is about his first wife, really. Kathy Sue Loudermilk is really Nancy Carroll, who he married. And this book is by the third wife, How to Tame a Wild Boar, B-O-R-E.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I remember she came and signed books at Scott's Bookstore. Yeah, Won't You Come Home, Billy Bob Bailey.
That one.
Oh, and this is a cool book. This is a book that Nancy, his first wife, and Camilla Stevens, who they went to school with, put together, which is...
So his first wife was from Moreland as well?
Oh, yes.
Childhood sweetheart type situation?
Yes, my mother taught them. Taught both of them, yes. And they were sweethearts in high school. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, one of my favorite memories...
Oh, there's that same
is we gave a reception at the Caldwell house for Deidre, his widow, and Nancy's parents came because they wanted to meet Deidre.
Yeah.
And so they said, "Oh, we've been wanting to meet you." I'm like, "Okay, you know."
Well, I mean...
You know.
There's a class picture in that somewhere.
Of the high school?
is that this building right here? Is this where we're at right now?
That's where we are.
I spotted it.
Yeah.
Is the water tower still back here?
Nope.
Long gone.
Nope. One of the mayors tore it down.
Oh my gracious. Okay.
Yeah, said it was not safe.
Now, what is this building?
That's one of those buildings that are up here. It was the Curitan Coal Store.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you quickly about when we first come into Moreland.
Is that what?
And you've got the school picture.
Yeah.
When you first come into Moreland, and we've got the Moreland sign and the old Lewis Grizzard Museum. What was that building?
What used to be an old gas?
Is it an old gas station?
It was a gas station. It was a bus stop.
And was there a small museum there first?
There was a museum there first, and that building actually belongs to us, the Moreland Cultural Arts Alliance.
Okay.
We own that building. Everything else that we use, we lease, but that building we're working on restoring.
Okay. What are you thinking about doing with that building?
We've had several ideas. We've talked about basically a tourist stop, a place where tourists could sort of stop in. You could figure out what else there is in Moreland, and you could go from
almost
there.
like a welcome center type
that's
of
right.
deal.
And also have a place where, let's say you're riding a bicycle, but you could stop and
take a break.
Take a break, have a snack, get some water, all that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that would be neat. Maybe
we're
a little history side of the county.
Oh, sure, definitely.
Neat.
Yeah, those are high school pictures, and there's
Now, this school is gone.
This is the one that was hit by the tornado.
Oh, well, we know very in depth about that.
Rebuilt.
Alan Jackson went there as well.
That's right. Rebuilt, basically looking a lot the same.
It does. Our grandson goes there.
Right.
Yep, I was just at a play Friday night there.
Cool.
Yeah, and we know well about the tornado. Our son lives off of Timberland Trail.
Oh, yeah.
And when the tornado came down, that was on top of his house.
Wow.
Yeah, he was out of his house, what, 2.5 years?
A long time. He ain't been
2.5
back here
years.
long.
Yeah.
No. And that building still exists.
Yep. He did. He worked there. He did the when the newspaper was 100 years old. He wrote a lot of articles for what they call the Centennial magazine, which you can still occasionally find. This is him and Nancy flying. He did not like to fly.
And here is a little cartoon, probably printed right after he had passed.
Yes.
And this would have been his dog, Catfish.
Yeah, Catfish had already
and
died.
He's got his old typewriter that he's coming to welcome him into heaven.
Yeah, Catfish has already died, and so he's saying welcome.
Is that me? That's you. Okay.
Don't have no phone.
Surprise, surprise. All right.
Cool.
So Sally, tell us what you know.
Cool. Well, I think we're good for in here. Whether we could, maybe could I just look through the building there?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Just to see. So the whole building was a mill.
Right, that's right. Yeah. As I understand it, this side and what you see through those windows were built first, and then the hallway was put in place between them.
Boy, these are the original floors, aren't they?
They are. They still smell a little oily.
They do. Now, is this building available? I'd like to push places that we go, would this building be available as a venue for an events venue? It's beautiful.
Yeah, this belongs to the city, and
this would be a beautiful place.
I've done weddings here, and
okay, so these are substantial. These.
Oh yeah, because remember, this was an exterior wall.
Okay.
This was an exterior wall. That was an exterior wall, and then
This was an alleyway through here.
Right.
This was an alley.
Right.
Okay.
That then was enclosed, and in the era that
okay, so that's why it looks from the outside. Yeah.
In the era that Jimmy's dad and my mother worked here, people worked all over. There was something that happens everywhere.
This would be a beautiful place for a little venue.
Checkers alley. Two guys play checkers in there all the time.
And then a wagon came through one day and upset the checkers. The man got so mad he closed it in.
Oh.
So they call it Checkers Alley now. Yeah, this is.
We have an alley here.
This is a beautiful place, and it's got a little kitchen.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a really neat little venue, this would be a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it's kind of a catering kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all you would need. And there's the water tower that someone decided was dangerous or unattractive, and that's
supposed to be dangerous.
That's a shame. That's a dirty shame. Now, do you believe that water tower might have been built at the Noonan at the coal manufacturing plant?
I'm pretty sure.
RD Coal Manufacturing.
It's a coal tank.
Right. Check back on some of our previous downtown Noonan videos. The RD Coal Manufacturing Plant was also a filming location for The Walking Dead and Hunger Games. It has since been torn down. That was big there.
Oh yeah.
That was big. They finally tore that building down after people made all kinds. And those are the wooden structures that we were talking about. Yes, they're still there.
Yes, if you just
So
go on that street.
we'll go out there in a minute.
There were buildings on the other street, and they're all gone. Like the bank was on the corner.
Okay.
And at one time there was a plant that made farm implements that went down the railroad that way. All of that's gone.
Really neat place.
Yeah, they're gone.
I love that table.
Isn't that cool?
Man.
Jimmy, do you remember the bank?
No.
No, okay. I knew I didn't remember.
I remember the building.
So the building was still here when you were growing up here?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I don't remember the bank, or if I do, it's very vague.
Yep, that's what we were saying, that the ones we saw in the pictures. So this is a building owned by the city.
Correct.
You guys lease it for the museum and stuff, but then they lease this.
We lease that side.
That part.
And
Okay.
they lease
And
this.
then they do this
we
as
use
a
this
venue.
sometimes too, but
Right,
it's
right.
theirs to lease.
Is there an old jail here somewhere?
In Moreland,
Was there a jail?
there wasn't a courthouse, was there? I mean, everybody went to Greenville, didn't they?
I've heard there was a jail of sorts. Yeah, but it was. But
Maybe some small, like a single cell or
I heard
something.
there was a small building, kind of a jail over there.
Yeah.
Some of the local ne'er-do-wells hooked it up to the train, and the train dragged it down the track. I don't know if that's true or not.
Who
This is
knows?
what I heard.
Who
But it makes a
knows?
great story.
Makes a great story.
Probably.
Well, you know what Mark Twain always said, never let the truth stand between you and a good story. Not too long ago, we toured the historic jail in the city of Griffin. They say it's due to be torn down, but who knows?
Somebody in Griffin knew that. We asked somebody, I don't know what you're talking about.
A lot of people didn't know what we were talking about, so we don't know if they were going to tear it down or not.
Well, there are things like when the Sam Hose story came back up probably 15 years ago. Many people who had lived in Noonan their whole lives had never
Never heard
been
the
mentioned.
story.
They had no
Right.
idea that
Right.
this lynching that had happened here was something that people all over the world knew about
Right.
and is in all these books. And
So Maria, who owns the Greenville jail, we've been in there several times.
Yeah.
And, is there any way we could turn this little train on just for a second?
I tried to run it this morning.
Oh, it didn't go on, huh? I was thinking that'd be kind of cute video, you know, a little B-roll there. Back it up.
So
it just wants to back
only
up.
going backwards.
It only
And
wants
now
to
it's
go
quit.
back. Says, I want to go back in time.
Take me back.
Take me back.
Here's the buildings.
Yes, here are those buildings that we saw
Yeah.
that are still there.
Yeah.
Gosh, those have got to be 1800s.
Yeah, some of them at least are. I'm pretty sure. I think all of them probably are.
Look at the old well right on the porch. So the author Erskin Caldwell was actually born in this building. So that's really neat. So the author Erskin Caldwell was actually born in this building. So that's really neat. Oh, this is good. Oh, they lost a lot of sticks. Y'all must have had a pretty good little storm come through yesterday. Look at this.
Did the birds come back to that nest?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody messes with it, they will.
Probably little house wrens.
Yeah.
Neat.
We'll go in here.
Ooh, that's a little soft there.
Yeah, there are a few
Few
places.
little dips. Now, do we know when this home was constructed?
We do. Was built around 1879.
The entire structure, or no, just more like a settler's?
Built in pieces. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, do you open this for events?
Oh yeah. It's open. Like whenever that during regular museum hours when that's open.
Someone who's monitoring over
can
here.
Come here. If they want to come here, they'll walk up over there.
I
and come
see.
over here. And let's go up to the front. That's kind of a logical way to tell the story.
Okay.
And then work our way back.
Wow. Okay, we're going to start our tour here.
Yeah. This is normally if I have a tour group, I bring them up these
In here?
steps and then start here. But the door is there. The lock is there. So this is the house where Caldwell was born. Was built around the original part around 1879. Added on to several times. We think the oldest part is probably the little small room that has the round table in it. That's very simple, and that perhaps it was either a place for servants or a place for storage. And then when it was sold to White Oak Presbyterian Church, that the Victorian little house was added around it. But we know that Caldwell was born here. He was born on December the 17th, either in 1902 or 1903. And this was a pre-birth certificate.
So that information comes off of a...
He always said he was born December the 17th, 1903. There were people in the community who swore he was born either on December the 17th, 1903 or on December the 17th, 1902.
Yeah.
And, they would say things like, Mama and Papa got married in the parlor at the manse the day before Erskine was born, or my little brother, my older brother and Erskine were the same age. And they were one,
So they had their reasoning.
Right. But December 17th, 1903 is the day that the Wright brothers made their first successful airplane flight.
Right.
And so there were people who felt like Erskine picked 1903 because that was the beginning of a new
era, a new age.
World. And so he wanted to be part of that. So,
you mentioned before his mother was very protective.
Yes. I can show you this picture here. This is him as a little boy, and you can see he has long curls, and he's wearing what was called a Russian tunic. And this was not a popular style for little boys.
Right.
It's just what his mom wanted him to wear. And so the story is told of the mom's sister coming to visit and the mom's not feeling well, and the sister is a nurse, and she gives her, I don't know, a pill, an injection, something. Anyway, mom goes to sleep. And while mom is asleep, the aunt and the dad take Erskine to the barber shop.
Oh,
and when
Mama was mad.
She was very mad. She and Erskine were a lot alike. They both had a tendency, if they were unhappy with you, then they would, the old Southern word they would use is they would freeze you. It's like they wouldn't talk to you, they wouldn't acknowledge you, they would just, and one story that I was told was that Mrs. Caldwell continued to do that until Reverend Caldwell told her, this was later in their life, that if she did it again, he would leave her. If it meant he never preached again, so be it. But he wasn't going to put up with that anymore.
I gotcha.
And so apparently after that, she did a little better. But this is them at one of the places they lived along the way. As I said, they left here when Caldwell was about 5. He writes in one of his memoirs about seeing the depot as they leave Moreland. They lived in all of the states of the old Southern Confederacy. His father sometimes was the pastor, and then sometimes he was a fixer for the ARP church. If a church was in trouble, well then he would come and stay for a few months and get things back on track.
Gotcha.
And so sometimes Erskine and his mother went with him to these churches, and sometimes they stayed with relatives in Virginia or South Carolina. She had family in all of those places.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat.
So then let's go in here. This desk was Reverend Caldwell's desk at White Oak Presbyterian Church. And that's the reason we have it. It was left.
All right, so White Oak Presbyterian is not the church you're in.
No,
that's the Methodist.
Right. White Oak Presbyterian is on Gordon Road.
Okay. Gordon Road, okay.
If you're coming from Luthersville up 54 and you get to Gordon Road, you turn left, you see it. It's right there.
Is that next to the old beaten up down house that's been on the market?
The house that looks like it's about to be torn down, yes.
Yeah.
So when the Caldwells left here, they went to Prosperity, South Carolina, and in Prosperity, oh wow.
Oh, okay. I don't think I touched it.
In Prosperity, oh wow.
Well, all right.
I think it was just gravity or something.
Gravity. Gravity.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go with gravity. We're gonna go with gravity. Whoa, I just got to chill too. Okay, we're going with gravity.
But their home in Prosperity burned. So basically everything they had when they were here was lost.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're really, really proud of the desk. Someone who had an antique shop got the desk, knew its origin, couldn't sell it.
Not getting near your cabinet door again.
Yeah, we definitely did some things there. Now there's a story here. This is a little camp organ let me get this right, say it right. Salem Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church. It's between Atoka and Idaville, Tennessee, which is near Memphis. Reverend Caldwell had this, and in the afternoons after the service at the church, he would take it, and there was a teenage girl that could play the organ, and he would take it, and they would go like to a school out in the country, and they would gather people up, and they'd have a service.
Right.
And the guy who at the church had met Caldwell, wanted us to have it, called me and said, you can have it if you'll come get it. And so I borrowed my son-in-law's pickup truck, and he's very particular about all of his vehicles. But I borrowed it because it was big, and I thought, okay, I don't know how big this thing is. And then when
you could have put it in the back seat.
Yeah, I could have put it in the back seat. Right. But we found it in a catalog. We think it may have been a World War I surplus Army chaplain's.
Oh.
That made for that purpose, but without that.
Right.
Yeah. And then there are some things like that piece. I believe it's from the Baptist Church here in Moreland. There were things that were given, but you see, we've got all kinds of Movie posters, book covers.
So Tobacco Road was made into a movie.
Yeah, Tobacco Road was first made into a movie. That was in the 40s.
In the 40s.
Yeah, you can see.
Directed by John Ford. There's some
Gene,
names there, yeah.
Gene Tierney,
Dana Andrews.
all of those people of that era.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It doesn't ever mention the movie poster. Never mentions Earskin Caldwell. His name is not on it. Matter of fact, there's one out here. I'm pretty sure this happens in this room.
Huh.
Where we have the one where.
Little fireplace. Let me grab a quick shot of some of these pictures here.
I'll show you what we got here. Yeah. Now, these are pictures. His granddaughter, Becky Lascovy, gave us these. These are pictures from Maine. When he married Helen, his first wife, her family had a summer place in Maine, and they just stayed there. They just lived up there, and that's where he wrote a lot of Tobacco Road and Gods of the Laker.
Right.
And so there are lots of pictures there, and then there's another set of pictures that Becky gave us in here that are from when he was a Hollywood screenwriter. And the frames therein are windows that were in the house that had to be replaced. We had to get new windows, and we got something that was modern, because that was what we could afford. But we saved all of windows and used them for display. But this has, let's see, there are.
Okay, so again, this one doesn't mention him.
Yeah, well.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah. This is later. This is in the 60s. The late 50s, we have Gods of the Laker. Early 60s, we have Claudel English. We have a couple of Claudel English posters here, and they do mention him. I love the Gods of the Laker poster because with an all-star cast. And this is obviously
Michael Land and Tina Louise.
It's obviously
Buddy Hackett.
Yeah, it's obviously from a reissue because when it was done in the 50s, a bunch of these people were people that were just starting their career,
Yeah,
and not
Ginger.
known as well.
Jack Lord.
Yeah, it was Tina Louise's first movie. Michael Landon plays an albino, so therefore you could watch the whole movie and never know that you ever actually saw Michael Landon because he doesn't look like Michael Landon. And,
That's neat.
And Gods of the Laker is the only film. Erskine was like a consultant on this film, and he and Virginia went and stayed where they were filming, which was somewhere in California. And this is a picture from then with Erskine and Tina Louise. And Virginia told me that she and Tina Louise got up in the mornings. That's him and Margaret White. That she and Tina Louise got up in the morning and did exercises together. And she said, what did she say? She said, Tina Louise is really a very ordinary looking girl until she puts her makeup on.
Oh.
And then she said, but she doesn't go anywhere without her makeup on.
No. A lot of the old school Hollywood, I've read some stuff about old school Hollywood, and they wouldn't even go to their mailbox.
That's the one that has Earskin himself wrote, by Earskin Caldwell, ?
Okay, we should be good with this.
This is the typewriter that Erskine wrote his last book on. The book was called With All My Might, and it was a memoir. He had written a memoir earlier, but this was in the 80s, near the end of his life, and it was published by Peachtree Publishers in Atlanta. Everything else had been published by some big New York publishing house. And in the museum, the black frame panels tell his life story, and the gold frame pieces are art of some kind.
I see.
Yeah, so you can follow, if you're here and you're visiting, you can follow through and just look at the black frame pieces and you get the whole story. Yeah.
So, hey guys, if you're listening and watching this, I hope you're enjoying this, and you can come take a little tour here. What would be an occasion that you might open this?
It's open during regular hours, which if I remember right, are Thursday through Saturday from, I hate to say the time because I'm going to get it wrong.
Right, well that's okay, but it is
10
open,
to 2,
and this is part of the museum.
If you go to the other museum, that's where our docent stays, but then if you say you want to come see this one, we'll
bring it
over
right
here. Yeah.
Now I'm looking at this ceiling too. That's fascinating.
Yes. This
has definitely got to be the original.
Yeah, this is the room that we had some historic preservation planner who came here told us they thought this was the original room. It's just just boards Very simple around the windows.
Right. Of course, the Trammell, we've done a lot of research on the Trammell. It started that. Now, are you familiar with the Page House in Turin?
Yes.
Yeah, and so they have a room. This is how it all started.
Interesting.
And in that room, on the ceiling, you can see a cutout section where they're assuming there was a ladder and a loft.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
That was our assumption. But yeah, we've done some extensive videoing there, and I did a little ghostly thing there in October. What you got there?
This is a picture that I took of Erskine in Virginia when I met him in 1982, I think.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they were at the library
43 years ago.
Yep, hard to believe.
43. Now your background, let's talk about that real quick while we're just right here.
Okay.
Your background is in journalism, correct?
That's right.
And did you go to UGA as well?
I did.
Okay. And when did you graduate?
19...
In a land far away and long ago?
Let me stop. 1980.
1980. Okay.
Yeah. And then I worked in South Georgia for about a year and a half, came back, worked at the New York Times Herald for 38 years straight as a reporter and then as an editor, and then have done a lot of writing.
And you've written several books as well.
I have.
And we'll be showing those guys. Don't worry, I'll get some cover pictures. Ooh. All right, we don't need an ambulance going off. We need a train. That's what we need.
Yeah,
but we'll get some copies of all the books that he's written. He was just last week with me at the Career Day, showing the kids his books. And
did you watch YouTube?
Some.
You ever watch that Sidestep Adventure?
They're local. They go to cemeteries and stuff. And one of the guys,
yes, I have because they
used to be Sidestepping Histories.
They went. I'm pretty sure they did the one. They went to the Trammell Cemetery at Shiloh, and that's a distant branch of our family that I know about our connection, but most other people around here wouldn't know.
So you're related with the Trammells?
Yeah, my mother was a Trammell.
Your mother was a Trammell.
My mother is Bob Trammell's aunt.
Okay, well that's cool.
Yeah, she's the oldest child in that family.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
There's one brother still living.
All right. So fellow writers, we love the writing.
And then we have this is mostly American or English. And then this is some of the many languages that
his books are
reprinted in. Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
The first about top 3 shelves.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from Scandinavia. There's some from Italy. Very popular in Japan. His popularity in Japan grew out of I don't think I can get my hands on one at the moment, but they had these little. They were rectangular service editions that were given to soldiers like in packets, and the soldiers would read them and then the soldiers would toss them, and the soldiers were stationed in Japan, so people in Japan then read
got a hold of them.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
And they could identify with the struggles of Caldwell's characters, and so he's very much taught.
Interesting.
There.
And look at this wide door.
Yes. Remember, when you can pull these out and it's like hatched. This was put together, I would say, at some point, but now there's a story about this. This was the kitchen when Caldwell was a child and lived here, and he burned himself badly. He pulled I think the newspaper says he pulled a bowl of hot gravy off the table. But now the story that I heard was he pulled a skillet of grease. Yeah. But he had scars as an adult.
That was that severe.
From that, because he wrote about them in one of his books.
Is it listed on a historic registry?
Well,
or no? Not everybody likes to do that because you get the government involved.
Well, no, we wouldn't mind being on it, but it has been moved. It's very hard to get something that's been moved on the history.
So is this also owned by the city of Moreland?
The piece of property yes, this is owned by the city of Moreland.
Okay.
Because we got some rat money.
And it's something that you guys are adamantly attempting to make sure it's preserved.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Wonderful.
And I've been involved with it from the beginning.
We love it. We love preserving history.
Oh yeah, that's what it takes. You have to have
you gotta have somebody.
People.
And there again is some of the reasons that we come out here and we make these videos, because YouTube is a platform where the younger crowd, not that we're older crowd, but we are, and the younger crowd gets on YouTube.
Sure.
And this is a platform where we can connect with the youth They're not going to read these books. Let's just face it.
Right.
The kids just don't read like they used to.
Right.
But they watch the videos, and then maybe they're like, ooh, maybe I should read this book. Or they're just find out more of the history of the buildings. And
I want to come down there and see it.
This is one of the goals we have when we come out and do these things and document really neat old stuff.
Yeah.
One more. I'm going to get one more shot of this
Sure.
ceiling in here.
Get whatever you want.
The ceiling is really neat.
The ceiling is really neat.
Yeah, we've been to the Windsor Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
We've been to Plains and archery. Gosh.
We went to Windsor, a guy she was working with said, y'all not coming back.
Because he thought it was so haunted there.
Yeah, he goes, you're not coming back.
I was like, what? Yeah, we are coming back. But we've been to several different, we've been in the Greenville jail, which is a really neat place. And we just love to find, we've just been to Griffin and lots of places in Noonan. We just did the Arnold grocery store the other night.
Oh, that's fun.
Other day, and that video, I thought, I don't know anybody, and it shot up over 600 views already.
Oh yeah.
So you can never tell.
No, you're right.
What people will find interesting. So we did one of our first biggest videos we ever did was just the roundabout where the old grocery store was. That's related to the founder of Publix.
Oh yeah, in Harris City.
Yeah, and we went there and we thought, nobody's gonna really be interested in this video. Over 1,000 views, and still people are watching, lots of comments.
Yeah.
So you can never, there's a little roadside thing and you just never know.
Well, when they shut it down, they left everything in it.
Yeah, that's what the stories were.
Bess's church said he lived across the circle there in the house with a blue roof. Which was his grandmother or something. He said they used to go ahead and his friends used to go over there and eat out of that store for a long time.
Get the old canned food.
Get the old canned food.
Because they knew that they were expired, but they were just kids. They're like, what the heck, you know?
Yeah, they're probably
but when we were there, that's the video when we went inside and we found the safe, and on the wall of the safe was a bat.
Oh, really?
Just hanging in there. And it had, this is why we always notice a lot of places we go, we get these really thick walls. So that was kind of interesting. But there was a bat on the video. So if y'all want to go back and watch that one.
Okay.
Another little series we did that was interesting was we went to a lot of the old theaters. We did the Ritz in Thomaston. We did the President in Manchester. And then we went to Hogansville and did the Royal Theater. And so that was one that was super fun. Just, different stages of renovation and just the whole history of film. It was really, really neat. So we just love to preserve, and then maybe somebody watches and all of a sudden they get a spark for history that they didn't have before. That's our goal.
Yeah, I got it.
That's where we come.
Or ashtray or something.
Or a chamber pot. I don't know which.
I actually think it has something to do with cooking.
Okay, let's hope so.
Yeah, that I think you put something
because
in there
at the Trammell house there is a chair in the one bedroom with a pot. But it's a chamber pot.
But it's a chamber pot.
It's a chamber pot. So
yeah.
Don't want to cook your stew in that pot.
Yeah. You keep straight. Which is the soup
which is the soup pot and which is the morning drop pot. Interesting.
Yes.
We really appreciate you coming out here.
Oh, sure. I appreciate you coming.
So these buildings, that one looks like it would have been maybe a. Do you know?
I think like it might have been a schoolhouse.
This was the post office.
Post office. Okay, that makes sense.
In the picture that's in the mill, it still has the post office sign. And the one on the far end was Puritan Coal Store. It still has a sign up. And then I forgot.
And that was coals related to the big coal family, I'm sure, from Noonan, maybe?
Yeah, somehow.
Somehow.
But not.
Did you ever heard the story of how R.D. Cole ended up in Noonan?
Yeah, what was it? Something
wagon broke down.
Yeah.
And he had lost his land in some sort of a legal dispute.
Right.
And he was headed west.
Right.
And he broke down in what's now Noonan, and
he just stayed.
And he stayed. Neat little building. Now, are these buildings privately owned or owned?
Yeah, they're privately owned. This one has been used most recently. It was Deborah Smith had like a art gallery, shop, crafts, all that kind of thing.
Really neat,
here.
neat old building.
But none of them have been used for a while. This one, the last time it was used, it was a potter was in there, I think.
Now look at this on the handle on the door. Buy Banbury bread.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if some bread representative came out and said, I got this handle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And look, the whole thing.
Yeah. I wonder if they gave them the door.
Bambry, the screens probably.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
And then the screens probably were important back in those days.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You didn't have air conditioning.
Right.
But if you didn't have the screens, you'd be letting all the flies in.
Right. So you could open the actual
That is
wooden
cool.
doors and, you know.
That's very cool.
And every time somebody went in and out, they were reminded to buy that bread.
Okay, who knows what we'll see, but we'll try this trick. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But we'll try it. Really neat.
Yeah.
Really neat.
The buildings are cool. They really are.
Yeah. Ain't supposed to be up until 2050.
Where's that? Oh, interesting. To be exhumed in 2050. The old mill, which is now a museum, honoring both Earskin Caldwell and Louis Grizzard. That was a fun morning. Hope you guys had a fun time too. We're gonna go show you one more building. Check in with a second. So we came down here to the corner of Church Street, and this is Highway 27. Because this is the original Louis Grizzard Museum. Of course, we just left where his information is now. We thought we'd bring you down here to see this neat old building. We're in Moreland, Georgia, the home of the famous authors Louis Grizzard and Earskin Caldwell. And of course, Winston Skinner, who will one day have his own place in these museums, no doubt. Got a neat floor in there. Yeah, using it for storage right now. Huh. Look at those big planks.
They're gonna replace that up there.
Is that what those are for?
I'm guessing.
Looks like it. So what we've been told will soon, this will be sort of a welcoming center off of Highway 27, and we're going to have a place you can come in, hear some history, and hear some other places to go in the area. So that's really cool. And again, we're here in Moreland, the Moreland Museum.
Yeah, tell your friends about it.